Hi everybody, welcome to the first recap of 2021, which I hope is going to be a fabulous year for absolutely everybody. And I'm back in the car studio, and of course this is the place where we cover the news that the mainstream media totally ignores. And in that department, I want to talk about Alec Baldwin. You may know, or if you didn't know, Alec Baldwin was a reader at Gerard's Church in East Hampton. And I followed up with Gerard to see if he still is. And as it turns out, he stopped doing that when he married Hilaria. When he started dating Hilaria, he took her to church on Sundays. He got up to receive communion. When he did that, she would go into the back of the church. Now, following the wedding, evidently they switched over to the Episcopal Church. And he bases that on some remarks that Hilaria had made, I don't know, on Instagram or whatever, wherever that shows up. So anyway, and of course, Alec Baldwin is going to church with Hilaria, and he's just no longer going to the Catholic Church in East Hampton. So if you're trying to figure out what Alec Baldwin knew and when he knew it, you may want to factor this important information from Gerard into your thinking. Also in breaking news, but it's down here in Vero Beach, I've got a report that Dr. Henley has adjusted the dosage of carvedilol that I take every day. And instead of 25 milligrams twice a day, he's adjusted it to 12.5 milligrams twice a day. So we're going to keep an eye on this and see how it works out. I've got an expectation that it's going to work just great. In our follow-up segment, you may recall that Dennis won the Christmas contest, and he sent along this reaction video that he took when his family watched the recap where I announced the winner. Here it is. And prison ramen egg salad actually got a number of votes, but far and away the clear winner was our first ever group entry, and that was Dennis's entry.
Yeah. Exactly. There's no chance.
Well, once again, congratulations, everybody in Dennis's house. Glad you're happy. I regret that I don't have reaction videos from Kathleen and Eileen and Paul Jordan. But I've got to say, they made a valiant effort, very excellent submissions to the contest. It's just that they sort of fell short. Well, I was trying to think of something to do in terms of a year in review for 2020. Looking back on old recaps and so on to see if I could put together some kind of a end of year sequence. And what I decided to do instead was to try to determine what was the best stuff that I got in 2020. And here's the result. I think, like most of you, I've bought most of my stuff this year on Amazon. And by stuff, I don't mean food or gas or things like that. I mean stuff. And what I did was I went through the other day all the orders that I put on Amazon during the year 2020 to pick out what was the actual best stuff that I got. Now, I'm going to give awards for this stuff, but it doesn't mean that it's the best stuff in their individual categories. It just means this is stuff that I bought, that I use a lot, and that I think is actually pretty terrific. So here's my first piece of stuff. It's Under Armour golf shirts. I started switching over to Under Armour clothes, t-shirts, sweatshirts, things like that this year. And actually, it's inspired by Dennis, because Dennis and Tim and Matt seem to wear Under Armour stuff all the time. So I've got Under Armour sweatshirts, t-shirts, and so on. And I got Under Armour golf shirts. Now, what I like about the golf shirts is it's actually two things. One is how it feels. I mean, this stuff really feels good. I mean, just plain good. And also, the other thing, which is more important to me, is the fact that the collars stay, I'm going to call it stiff. They seem to keep their shape much better than the other golf shirts that I've always worn. And they're keeping their shape after they've been washed 3 or 4 or 5 times. They're in pretty good shape. So I really, really like the Under Armour golf shirts. So that's my first award for best stuff. And I guess you'd call it the clothing category. The way I've always kept my tools has been, down here in Florida at least, in this red sack. And I just throw all the tools in there, except the power tools. I throw them in this red sack, and it's turned out always to be an irritation. You got to do one little thing in the house. You have to unscrew something, or use a pair of pliers, or you got to nip a wire, what have you. And to get at that, what you've got to do is root around in what I've had to do is root around in this red sack to pick out the tools that I like. What I realized is that I used to use these magnetic toolbars, and I haven't gotten them down here. So this year I went and I bought a set of magnetic toolbars. And what you can do with them, or what I have done, is to segregate tools. So I've got all the screwdrivers together in one place and all plainly visible. Wrenches, pliers, nippers, all that stuff. So at a glance, I can go into the garage and I can pick out a screwdriver or a pair of nippers or whatever it is I happen to need, and not waste a lot of time rooting around in the red bag. The red bag now is confined to big tools like a hammer and things like that just simply won't conveniently fit on the magnetic toolbars. So the second award for best stuff is this magnetic toolbar that it's pretty cheap. Got it on Amazon, screw it onto the wall, and you're good to go. So, I bought a bunch of other stuff on Amazon, but I'm not going to say that I use it all the time, that it's all best in their class or anything like that. These are the things that at the end of the year strike me as the best stuff that I've gotten on Amazon. So those are the awards: the Under Armour golf shirts and the magnetic toolbars. So you factor all this into your thinking. You may want to take a look and see what you did with Amazon during the year and figure out what worked for you or what didn't. Okay, that's this week's report, the first report of 2021. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. I'm looking for 2021 to be just plain sensational. So I hope you're having a nice holiday weekend here, and we'll see you right back here next week. Everybody, take care.